Swimming like a shark in a shrimp tank. Big fish, small pond in the shrimp tank. When it tickers.
Hey, and welcome back to the post-show wrap-up of the Shrimp Tank. We have our guest, Zach Zelner from Penny Deliveries. Zach, some amazing content today. Really, the show went by faster than any show that we've ever done, for at least in my opinion. You know, you seem like the ultimate bootstrap type of business. Can you elaborate a little more on that?
Sure, yeah. I mean, look, from the beginning, it's a business started out of a college dorm, right? So, or a college apartment. So, by its very nature, it had to be, built on its own profits and grown through that, which I think is a terrific experience that allows you to be very creative in the way you deploy a dollar, much less more than that. Through that process of, scrapping together every dollar and, building out my own store and then, pushing to improve that and build out multiple stores and then, launch Penny. Bootstrapping a company forces you to think and say, how valuable is what I'm doing here, and to understand and go ahead and say, if I spend $10 here, it needs to make me 20. And by doing that, it forces you into making the right decisions because, frankly, you have no other choice. So that's the core of what bootstrapping is, and it's a beautiful thing that when you are just starting out, is a strategy that can allow you to go forward and say, this is how I will build my business, and I'm going to be able to start tomorrow because I'm doing it out of what I have already. Hopefully, a kitchen or a couch or a computer or whatever it is.
So. I find your story so compelling, and I agree with Lee that the show just went by so quickly. My concern is when students listen to this or other aspiring entrepreneurs that it just sounds so easy. Well, yeah, I could do cookie delivery, or I could, and I could expand that to deliver anything. I will go do that. That's simple conceptually, but there's so many things operationally and sort of that other people can't see. So what are some of those things, and what are some of the lessons that you have for people who say, yeah, that sounds easy, but...
Yeah, look, building a business is akin to, people say their business is their baby. But that's really actually not fair because a baby is born with like DNA, right? It's meant to like cry and drink water. And, if you feed it and, let it sleep, it'll eventually grow into a person. It may not be a good person if you don't do any parenting, but it'll be a person. That's not true for the business. A business has no structure, no DNA, no identity whatsoever, and it has no ability to fend for itself. And so, from the very beginning, especially when you do start a business, it's figuring out how to go through this laundry list of tasks and then figuring out the best way to sustain a lot of these tasks. And so from the get-go, it's a question of how do you start a company, which Google is your friend in every capacity. At this point now, I can go and register an LLC, and we do it all the time for a bunch of different purposes, but to a lot of people, that's a very new experience. And so it's figuring out how to do all that. And what I think stumps a lot of people is say, oh, well, I don't know how to go and, file or collect sales tax. How does it even work? And it's like, just Google it. Just figure it out. And so that's really the attitude that I would encourage, because looking at my story, it's a collection of 4 years of saying, I don't know how to do that, but someone must know how to do that. There are millions of small businesses in this country. Someone knows how to do it. So it's figuring that out. And people that make excuses to say, oh, I don't know how to do this. It's like, well, then I'll tell you what. Walk into your local burrito shop and ask for the owner and say, how do you start a business? Because they'll tell you. All right, it may not be great answers, but at least they'll get you started. And that's really the point of all this, and that's what I would encourage.
And Zach, I want to give a shout out to your girlfriend. I don't know her name. You didn't mention it.
Erica.
So you mentioned something on the show, and which said, you were banging your head against the desk one morning. Tell that story real quick.
Yeah, this was like 3 days ago. We have a company that's Penny's doing like $10 million in revenue, and like everything broke and collapsed, and all hell broke loose. And I'm sitting there. I think I was banging my head on a steering wheel of my car, and instead of consoling me, which she did later, but she looked at it, she's like, see, this is what people need to see. It's not the nice cars and stuff. This is the stuff that people don't see and don't realize, and it's much more of a symptom. I think for me especially, just trying to push such fast growth in such a small amount of time, that raises the bar for what anxiety looks like. That's and wonderful. Things like that. But
so. Obviously, since you're banging your head against things, there are incredibly daunting challenges and all that. So what has been the greatest of those challenges?
I think that the The largest of those challenges has been establishing legitimacy, especially for a new business. It's very, very tough, and no matter who you are, you can dig out people and be resourceful enough to find someone who has done something useful, whether that's through an academic setting. I mean, even through high school. Talking to teachers. What I've really realized is that people actually want to help. People want to help those who want to help themselves, and so when you present yourself as a person who is looking to work hard at work worth doing, which is something that I say all the time. When you can bring that forward and say, look, I'm ready to bite into something and work 20 hours a day if that's what it takes. A lot of people are willing to help you, and you just need to ask. And so getting out of that lone wolf mentality, right, is what's so important, because it takes a village. And doing that is something that I'm getting better at now and understanding better, and makes those challenges a little easier.
Well, just listening to you today, I'm very comfortable that you leading your village, that village is prospering. It will continue to prosper. I want to thank you for the time today. If you had an opportunity to watch this video, you definitely want to go to shrimptankpodcast.com, click on the entire show of the podcast. It was tremendously valuable content. I know you'll be speaking at the KSU Entrepreneurship Center. I enjoyed listening to you, and I thank you so much for coming on the show. This is our Shrimp Tank Podcast Recap.